What's up everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to some Great League Remix. Today I'm going to be showcasing a very strong team, featuring Registeel in the lead. I think this Pokemon is really strong at the moment, and it's being a little bit slept on in the lead. The thing is, in this cup, there aren't any Annihilates of course. A lot of the strongest Mudboys are banned, things like Whiscash are banned. We do have Gligar, we do have Quagsire, and we do have Poliwrath. If you were to get these Pokemon in the lead, it would be very awkward, so that's why we have things like Gligar and Mantine in this case in the back. Now, I've been running this with Mandibuzz, it's also worked very well. I think you can run this team with just about any two flyers. Once again, because this is Remix, we don't have any Chargebugs, and we don't have any Lanturns. The only Electrics that you're really going to see is Magnezone, which you can do pretty fine with Reggie. It's definitely tricky with Reggie because Wild Charge does a lot, and of course Gligar beats the Magnezone. So Magnezone itself would be tricky, but apart from that guys, Registeel lead just done super well for me. A lot of Penguins, a lot of Carbinks, Alolan Ninetales, Jellicent, even Sableye is a fairly fine matchup for you. There are a lot of things like Dragonite Double Steel, a lot of great leads for Registeel currently. Anyway guys, let's hop into the battles. If you do enjoy today's video, drop a like, subscribe. If you have any questions about the team, feel free to put them in the comments down below. One Pokemon that I didn't mention yet is Defense Deoxys, which you will get in the league quite often. We have played against a few of those, and we have been able to beat those. So stay tuned and you will be able to see how that plays out. Anyway guys, right here we snipe the opponent comes into an Empoleon in the back. Typically Dragonite lead does come with some sort of steel type in the back, or something that is weak to ground. We come in with Gligar here basically. I can take a Hydro Cannon on Non-Shadow Gligar. I really prefer Non-Shadow Gligar in this meta. The Non-Shadow Gligar does a lot better in my opinion into Poly, because you can take an Icy Wind, does better into an Empoleon, because you can take a Hydro Cannon, does better into Steelix, because you can take more Psychic Fangs, does better into just a lot of different Pokemon. You can take a move from Mantine if they're on Water Pulse. I just really prefer Non-Shadow Gligar. I feel like the main reason people are using Shadow Gligar in Great League is because it's a little bit better into Lickitung, and there are particular matchups in the overall Great League meta that are better for Shadow. I think for this particular meta with a lot of Carbings running around, of course you're going to have Grass Hole as well, right, like double grass. I think Non-Shadow is 100% the way to go here. Anyway guys, we get the Mantine on the Poly. Poly's so funny man, it can make this match close. I'm not sure if I live this move or not. I decided I'm not going to risk it. I hate getting farmed down, which of course is kind of annoying. The opponent, by the way, does not give a shit about Electric. They're ABA weak to Electric here. This is slightly annoying because Registeel does beat Jellicent. Jellicent does very well into Gligar, so I basically have to stay in here, which is pretty unfortunate. I do try to get as much damage as possible, because I'm thinking here at some point, we'll probably come into the Registeel, they might go for a Shadow Ball, they might not. And eventually they're going to swap out, and I might end up having to deal with this with Gligar. They come into a Scrafty here. I'm going to go for a Zap Cannon. They almost have to shield this, but the opponent does not care. They're going to let the Zap Cannon go. And I think that actually works out a little bit better for me, because it means I can come into Gligar, basically farm this the whole way down, keep my Registeel alive, of course pretty healthy as well. The Registeel at this point can still tank a Shadow Ball, and we're basically in a really good position here. Once again, if this was a Shadow Gligar, taking two foul plays would not be looking pretty. I'm going to full send the dig and then go for an earliest straight after. No reason to be in here. The opponent basically has to keep their shield for the Registeel. But yeah, this is curtains here. I think, do I live a Surf? No, actually I wouldn't live a Surf from here, but there's no way the opponent gets 2 enough moves. They need 3 moves here basically. A Shadow Ball from Jellicent doesn't do an absolute ton of damage. The reason that I normally stay in and shield in the lead though, is because they tend to be ABA weak to this. I've seen Jellicent lead with like a Fairthorn in the back, I've seen ABA weak to Electric, and I think that is why Registeel itself is doing so well. There are so many teams that are just very weak to Electric. Fantastic lead in the next one, Greedent. Doesn't matter what moveset they're on, Crunch, Trailblaze, Body Slam. I mean, if they're in Trailblaze and they ramp up and just start spamming Body Slams to shield the lead, right, it can get a little bit annoying. But the good thing about Greedent is our whole team beats it. The opponent calls the Zap Cannon again. Arguably, I need to stop going for those. The thing is, a Focus Blast does a lot to Greedent, but it doesn't put it into lock-on down range. So if you want to play that out fully, you probably just go for 2 moves anyway. So it's not terrible going for the Zap, but in fairness, I could have just got a lot more damage onto this. That's the awkward thing with Reggie at times. There are a lot of Pokemon that you need to throw 2 moves with. For example, Umbreon, right? You go for a Zap Cannon and a Focus Blast. You can't basically one-shot it. Same with things in the Great League like Azu, Lickitung, a lot of the bulkier Pokemon. There aren't that many Pokemon Registeel can just one-shot and farm down. Even a Shadow Alolan Ninetales, you go for a Zap Cannon, and it doesn't even quite put it into farm down range, so it's kind of awkward sometimes there. The opponent comes in with a Typhlosion. This thing is so awkward for my team, because it has Thunder Punch, it has Blast Burn of course for the Reggie. That thing is so awkward. The opponent I think does me a bit of a favour here and swaps out. We go for Ace here, and I'm basically going to just let this go. It's going to be an Icy Wind. I can just take the moves, farm out all the way down. If the opponent takes shield advantage with Typhlosion, it can be very awkward for you. Good games to the opponent there, and hopping into the next one we have a Goodra. Once again we need 2 moves here. Typically what I like to do is go for a move, and then try to catch a move on one of my back Pokemon. Of course, I'm not going to try to catch an Aqua Tail and Gligar, so we most likely go for the Aqua Tail catch on Mantine. If you don't make that catch, it can be a little bit awkward, but in this case right here, we do time it perfectly. The opponent goes for the Aqua Tail, and this is great. If you don't successfully make this catch, you might have to shield it, and you probably still even have to throw a move. In comes Ninetales, non-shadow. Not too sure why people use non-shadow Ninetales. It doesn't really have the same utility as something like a non-shadow Gligar, a non-shadow Quagsire. Some of these Pokemon have different utility as non-shadows. I think with Ninetales, it's one of those Pokemon that just absolutely have to be shadow. I think especially if you're running it on Charm, you need that extra damage. The whole point of Ninetales is 2 shielding through something. If you're not doing the 2 shield through something, what's the point? Ace coming in, that's a nice little chip into the Quagsire, and we're in a pretty fine position. The opponent actually goes for a catch here in Goodra. I'm super happy with this. The opponent was not able to get the 1 HP snipe, because of course it's a 1-turn swap. We bring in the Reggie. I'm thinking they're probably on Aqua Tail. This opponent's actually on Mud Bomb, and I do a funny play here. I shield, and I look to go for a Zap Cannon, basically to debuff the opponent. Aqua Tails do very close to 50% to Gligar. I think non-shadow versus non-shadow is fine, but I think if either Gligar or Quagsire is shadow, 2 Aqua Tails will be enough to knock it out, so I'm pretty happy to get the debuff. I'm waiting down my switch clock for absolutely no reason at this point. I'm going to no-shield everything. I think the opponent's actually on Stone Edge here, so this is just absolute curtains for them. So definitely getting Quagsire in the back. It is a little bit awkward. It can Stone Edge your Mantine, and it can do a lot of funny stuff, but generally you want to see this in the back. So thankfully we're not seeing it in... Oh, well, here it is in the lead. In comes Gligar. The opponent swaps straight into Ninetales. Pretty awkward. I commit to the dig to try to force them to for energy. And this is where you have to be tricky with Registeel. So a Focus Blast is roughly about 50% to Quagsire. If they're not on Mud Bomb, the match is nowhere near as bad as you would think it is. Now, you can see that I done, I think, 5 or 6 wing attacks to the Ninetales, so you can have a look at their health. Now, your mileage may vary here with Reggie because I'm using a very high rank 1. If you're using like a Raid AV1, that Zap Cannon probably would have knocked them out. So in my case, what I needed to do was basically undercharge a little bit, do like a grade or something like that, because I'd done the extra damage with the wing attacks. Now right here, the opponent's an insta-throwing Andy, they throw this move right off, trying to basically get rid of my Registeel. I tend to think whenever they have something like this in the lead, they probably have something weak to it in the back. They've already shown the Ninetales, they take the move, and the opponent swaps into the Mantine Mirror without chipping, so this is definitely quite good for me, because of course I'm ahead in energy, so if I can somehow get out of here, somehow get a catch, or do something fancy, I might have a chance of winning this. It's still going to be difficult. The Quagsire's energy, my Registeel is pretty low, I don't have a lot of energy on it, so it's looking a little bit awkward still, but I think this is still somewhat winnable. I think I definitely have to make a catch. Even if I do make a catch, this may not be enough, so we're going to have to see what happens here. The opponent goes for Ace, of course I'm one back. We have 2 shields up, I am ahead in energy, so that is one thing. The opponent lets that move go, we go for the lock on down with Registeel, thinking the opponent would throw the move right away. I'm going to stay in with Reggie here. Pretty much what I have to try to do is just wing attack this down. I was tempted to shield here and look to get off a Zap Cannon debuff, but I decided just to commit to fast moves. At this point, that's pretty much my only option. It's a very, very tricky one. I think this is going to be good games. The Aqua Tail is super spammy here. They get to these in straight 4. One little nugget of information here is, if they, for example, throw a Stone Edge first, the Aqua Tail will be free. Or if you throw a an Aqua Tail first, the Stone Edge will be 6. So by throwing one of the other moves, you actually lower the cost of either Aqua Tail or Stone Edge, depending on which one you throw first. Jellicent lead, I'm going to play this out the same way as I usually do. Shield up the first move. Again, like 99% of the time, they don't go for the bait here. It'd be kind of crazy to beat the Registeel. There was one player who did it, but it's not something you see too often. The opponent's actually shielding here, because these teams tend to be sort of ABA weak to Reggie. As you can see, they come into a Steelix right here. I think I end up throwing in bad timing, which you absolutely love to see here. The opponent just takes the move, which is quite surprising, and I do go for the Earthquake catch on the Gligar. This is non-shadow, I'm non-shadow, so the Psychic Fangs and Dragon Tails won't add up too much, and we're basically going to look to pretty much get rid of this thing, right? Aerialius plus Farm Down is probably enough at this range. Yeah, I decided to go for the Aerialius. I can still even take another Psychic Fangs, and I don't necessarily mind getting too low. The opponent comes back into Jelly, they're an insta-throwing Andy and throw this move right away. Very happy with this. The opponent dies to 1 move anyway, so if you're ever in a situation where you're going to die to 1 move from the opponent's Pokemon, you should overfarm as much as you can against the Pokemon that's not as threatening, because of course, yeah, they get off Surf here. I did decide to call a move, of course, because I do love a Shadow Ball. The reason I shielded the Shadow Ball in the lead is because it's a guaranteed bait call, and here comes the Registeel. So this is still a little bit awkward, but I think we should be fine to close out with Mantine. We get the Focus Blast off, that'll look to take them out. The opponent goes for a Slide Over Farm. I'm going to look to just let this Registeel go at this point. Looking for the Zap, I come into the Mantine, and we're going to look to throw this move immediately. I'm an insta-throwing Andy, we get the CMP tie here. This is definitely why you want to run Water Pulse. There are some, of course, Steel types that you get completely walled by with Ice Beam, and up a shield, Mantine versus Jelly is pretty fine. So I thought the opponent would outpace me, that's why I let the Registeel go. We go for a 1-and-throw on the Aerialist, which of course will look to get them decently low, and I think basically with all the wing attacks plus one more Aerialist, this should be basically game over. The opponent will not be able to make it to, I think, 8 or 9 hexes to beat a move plus send the Shadow Ball, so that's game over. Shadow and Empoleon lead, you can sort of play this out in the twos. I'm going to be a PV Poke Andy here. I'm going to be a PV Poke Peter and do a little sim here in the middle of my video, because why not? Why not? Does Registeel actually beat Shadow and Empoleon on the twos? Or am I just copying here? I'll put in my IVs. I don't put them in my videos anymore for no particular reason. But I think I've got a 112-14. Yeah, I think it's 112-14. Very, very high rank Registeel. I'm going to put in Shadow and Empoleon. And we'll actually see who wins the twos here. But we do play it out. In comes the Giratina. I don't even know what's happening in this battle chat. I'm looking at PV Poke, because that's definitely the best way to make videos. So Registeel does win the twos, so you can stand and play that out if you really want to. They take us out here. Giratina a little bit awkward for the team. I think I'm going to come in with the Gligar, and I just have to commit to a massive farm down. I need to be able to either double dig, or of course like to threaten the... But since I have a move banked in the Reggie, and I can basically snipe them at any time, I decide we full send here, we can go for the combo play if need be, and we're basically chilling now at this point. I think the opponent might have been able to shield there. In comes Sableye, and right here I make a pretty big mistake. I go for the dig. Now, you might think, wow, it's the hardest hitting move, you've got a Zap banked, why not just go for the dig? Well, if I go for double ace, it basically forces the opponent to throw energy sooner. We come in with Reggie, the opponent will outpace us to a couple of moves here, or they might even get a farm down. Okay, the opponent goes for the catch. This is really bad. This is actually horrible now. What was looking like a very winnable game is looking very tricky. I decided to let my Reggie go down, and it's just game over. The opponent has a move. So I definitely should have went for double ace there. Got the opponent's shield, and I might have been able to just take it out. In comes Jellicent. We're going to look to, of course, do the same thing we've been doing. Shield up, go for the Zap Cannon. They tend to be ABA weak to Registeel with Jellicent lead. We've seen this a few times. Definitely the most common lead I've seen. Sometimes they play it differently, sometimes they play it this way. The opponent actually doesn't have a very high ranked Jelly, because typically a lot of Jellies can live this move very, very comfortably and get off like 2 moves even before they get lock on down, so it can be a little bit weird. They come into Obstagoon of all things, and this is perfect here. We were up energy with Reggie. I decided to swap out thinking they're still ABI weak to it. Obstagoon of course can get one shot by Reggie, but typically Obstagoon does beat Reggie. With the Gligar we're going for a massive overfarm. The opponent catches on the Tropius of all things. This is really annoying, but this is pretty much fine here. This is where we want to see it. We've got a whole ass Mantine in the back. They're on Razor Leaf, so they're not going to paste the moves very quickly. I believe Tropius is 8 to the Leaf Blade and 10 to the Ace. I might be wrong, it might be 9. I'll do a quick check. I'll just PV Poke. PV Poke is your friend, go use it. By the way, if you guys don't use PV Poke, a lot of people ask me, you know, how do you learn move counts? How do you learn, well, move timing's different, but how do you learn move counts? I normally have PV Poke open, if I don't know the move counts. So Leaf Blade is actually 9 Razor Leafs and Ace is 10. This match is basically over though, unless the opponent's packing a Zap Cannon for whatever reason. Maybe Niantic done an interesting move update without us all knowing and give the Zap Cannon. The opponent is playing it out as if that is the case, but unfortunately, the silly sausage is going to get locked on down, and it's good games well played. So yeah, Reggie's doing what it's supposed to do here. Win leads, get shields, and yeah, just lock on down the Obstagoon because why not? Oh my goodness, another Jellicent lead. You know what, I'm going to cut this out, bro. Alright, so a million lock-ons later, we land the Zap. We're going to lock on it the whole way down. So this is what I'm telling you about having a good IV Jelly. Look at this, right? They get off a ball here, right? And I think they actually get off a Surf as well. Look at this Jelly, bro. This Jelly's cracked. This Jelly is absolutely insane. You can really tell the difference in this matchup. It's huge. In comes Glade. I'm going to get off the Zap immediately. Look to get the opponent's shield, hopefully get a debuff. They're non-shadow, so I'm not really too afraid of it. They come into Ninetales, unfortunately. So I guess swapping into Mantine, of course, had I known it was going to be this in the back, would have been better. But we're still pretty fine here. We get off, or we can threaten to get off 2 moves. If I wanted to, I could shield. The reason I don't shield in that situation is because they get a huge overfarm if I shield. I come in with Reggie, I can just sack it at this point. Non-shadow, it's just not the same. Look at that Weather Ball, that's pitiful. They have to throw 2 Weather Balls to take out the Reggie from red health. It's pretty pitiful stuff here. We come into Mantine, we're going to look to basically farm this thing the whole way down. I'm thinking a Leaf Blade from Glade probably hurts more than a Weather Ball, They don't even build up to the Dazzling Gleam or anything like that. We go straight for the Ace, insta-throwing Andy here. The opponent actually lets it go quite surprisingly, and that's curtains. I think if I remember correctly, they got up to 6 or 7 Psycho Cuts here. Not quite at the back-to-back. In comes Ninetales. We build up to 2 moves. I'm not sure if we do live a Gleam from here. I think the opponent is trying to commit to it. But yeah, this is basically GG's. So a theme with these Jellicent teams is that it's always ABA weak to Reggie. That's why I shielded Shadow Ball. It might seem like a silly shield considering it doesn't really do too much. But there you go. In comes Dragonite lead. Again, play this whatever way you want to. Shield it if you think they're going to throw it. I think they almost never throw it. In this case, they don't. I've just started no-shielding these, to be honest with you. To be fair, at this point I've switched my team up, so I'm not using this team anymore. I'm using a really interesting team that I hit Expert with, which you'll probably see tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, in this matchup, like I said, they hardly ever full send it. And sometimes they catch the Zap Cannon here. If they catch the Zap, it's really bad for you, to be fair. Right here, my only option is to try and catch the Superpower. We catch it here on the Gligar. Because again, these oftentimes are weak to Reggie in the back. They come into a Poliwrath, which in the zeros is actually pretty decent into Gligar. So I guess this is one situation where Shadow Gligar would be doing a little bit better. Wing attacks add up a little bit more, and the Aces do a little bit more. So they do take us out, which is kind of unfortunate, putting us in a pretty awkward spot. Actually, now that I think about it, this is not really awkward at all. If you were using the Mantine variation of this team, or sorry, the Mandibuzz variation of this team, it'd be a little bit awkward to try and snarl it down or get off an Ace before they get off multiple moves. We're in a bit of a pretty tricky position. They can come back in Dragonite. I come into the Registeel to try and clear the debuff, and in comes Venusaur here. I'm trying my best to throw in good timing. When you're using one-turn moves, you absolutely have to try your best to throw in good timing. The opponent gets a debuff here, which is nice. And yeah, we actually get off a second move. The opponent definitely made a bit of a mistake here in not, I think, throwing a bit sooner. Because, yeah, of course they can go for a Frenzy on the Mantine, but they're super low at this point. They only get off one move no matter what. This is perfect for me. I can take this Frenzy. They're debuffed. That debuff probably made a big difference. I go straight for these moves in Dragonite. We caught the Superpower, so this should be basically game over. We don't need Ice Beam in this matchup. It did get very, very close. Dragonite leads are tricky, especially if the leverage is still in the back. In this case, it was fine. It was just the Venusaur, and of course, we have 2 Flyers in the back. Venusaur basically nowhere to go against this team. Fantastic lead here, and once again, we're ABA weak to Registeel. Why are we so weak to Reggie in the lead? I swear, I don't see this that often. I think you probably see Reggie like 1 in 20 games in the lead. It's a really uncommon lead, so people are just not preparing for it. Like, people are not ready for this Pokemon. You know, with Registeel, I think the key things are... Oh, they're in Thunderfang as well, which is even better for me. The key thing is, if you want to be a good Registeel player, you have to learn the undercharges. That's kind of like the main thing with Reggie. And you need to manage energy really well with it, and you need to basically manage your lock-ons. If you throw an alignment all the time with lock-ons, it makes it otherwise close matches a complete loss for you. Since we set him with Reggie, the opponent decides to realign into the Mandibuzz. I decide to get this move right off. It was of course bad timing. I'm hoping I can swap out after this. I'm tapping. Please let me swap. We get into the Reggie, so I'm very happy here. We might have caught an Ace. Yep, we do catch the Ace. The opponent's just an absolute shambles at this point in time. Registeel has just done so much damage into their team. We're up 2 shields. We've got like a 60% Reggie. We're shielding the Reggie. The opponent is in complete shambles right here. Could it be possible that the opponent is triple weak to it? I think even if they're not triple weak to it, we're just going to get a juicy farm down. The Steelix is super low. A Zap Cannon or Focus Blast is going to hit basically anything. They're coming in for the Thunderfang. I decide, you know what, buddy? Fine, take it. This is not going to knock me out. I'm going to come into Gligar, farm this thing the whole way down. We bank a bunch of energy with Registeel. What does the opponent want to do here? They top left. So I would say the opponent probably has another Steel type. They might have had a Carbink in the back. That team was double or triple weak to Registeel. So hopping right into the next battle here, we have a Ninetales lead. Again, Reggie lead just absolutely cooking. In comes Swampert. This is about the hardest wall known to man to Swampert. In this matchup, I wasn't sure if I need to go for double Ace. I think if it's non-Shadow, double Ace is probably the way to go. But I think because they're Shadow, you can take 2 or 3 Hydro Cannons. Well, actually, you can definitely take 2, but taking 3 does not look possible. So definitely take 2 Hydro Cannons, overfarm as much as possible. And as you can see, after the Water Pulse, that puts them into perfect farm down range. Pretty happy with that. Back in comes Ninetales. They're not on Charm, so I even get off a Water Pulse here. I just need to make sure that this does not land on my Gligar. I'm going to commit, I think, to... Oh, I actually go for the Ace here, trying to just get them low. Because if they do so happen to realign, if they have a Core Breaker in the back, I want to get that guaranteed damage off. Now, what I decide to do here is, because in the 2s, and they've got an energy lead, of course, with Polly, they can make it really, really awkward with Gligar. However, whenever you stay in the chip, what that does in GBL is open the door to basically the opponent swapping out at some point. So I've stayed in. A charge attack takes, I think, 12.5 seconds. I'm using a 1-turn move. So to get to the Zap Cannon, that's 8 seconds. So I've basically misaligned the clocks by about 20 seconds. So I'm throwing this move immediately. I want to try and burn the clock. I'm trying to burn their clock if possible and get this poly as low as possible, as quickly as possible. Because as you're seeing here, the opponent's swapping out, making it super awkward. I basically need to commit to a lock-on down at the stage, which thankfully is possible. However, you just have to be very careful when you're staying into chip Pokemon, especially when there are only 2 Pokemon alive. You staying in the chip misaligning by 20 seconds is oftentimes the difference maker. The opponent only builds up to Lower Ball. I think the opponent will get to a move with Poly. They of course have the move right here, and yeah, of course it's CMP tie. GG's, thanks for playing. They go for the Icy Wind. Not really going to save them, and hopping straight into the next one, we have a Quagsire lead with a hat. In comes Ninetales. The RPS is looking pretty bad right now. I get off a move straight away. I want to get some chip damage on this at the very least, and I'm not too sure what I want to do here, because of course my Registeel is looking pretty bad against the Quagsire. I think what I need to do is come in, go for a Focus Blast, and just go for a juicy undercharge, or go for a Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon and Focus Blast do the same damage. It costs 1 more lock-on to get off the Zap Cannon, but of course it has the 67% chance debuff, so the opponent gets off some moves here. I need to do a perfect undercharge. I'm trying to keep energy as much as possible. I go for a Zero Bubble here. Bang, that looks to be pretty decent, because I can definitely take another Gleam. I get 100 energy, that's almost the perfect lock-on down, and I might be able to do something. Focus Blast does about 50% to a Quag, so this is looking pretty fine perhaps. We get off a big move here. I just need to hope there's no, like, Electrode or Magnezones in the back, or something that's going to hard counter Mantine. They go for a move here. I could have went for a CMP tie. I was anticipating a catch. The opponent goes for a Mud Bomb of all things here, and they come into their own Mantine. Now guys, in the video, we've seen this type of situation already. This exact team, I believe. This team has been tricky to beat, but the situation is a little bit different this time. I got a better lock-on down with Reggie. I got off a move on the Quag, and we're getting the Mantine very, very low. I think the opponent might be going for Ice Beam. They do go for Ice Beam. Just a little bit of info about this match. If you're playing, for example, Mantine versus Mantine, even shields, even energy, you should be going for triple ace. In that case, I understand why they went for that move. We get off a last second Focus Blast. So you guys are seeing here, all of that energy I got on that matchup is making a massive difference. The opponent comes into Quagsire here. I overfarm. I basically need to build up to 2 moves. The Mantine bang to move. I need to hope that I win CMP. The opponent full sends the Stone Edge, and we've now built up back-to-back aces. This one ace will knock out the Quagsire. This really comes down to CMP tie. Who will win CMP? We do win CMP. And what was a Quagsire lead on the Registeel turns out to be a win. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I highly recommend trying out this team. It's been really, really strong for me. I've not showcased it. I've been using it on my alt. I had Expert on my alt with Mandibuzz. I've been using this and got like, I think over 2600 or close to 2700 with the team. Registeel lead is just so good. You can run this team with any 2 flyers, it's definitely possible. Now, one thing you might be thinking about is, my IVs are bad with Registeel. Look, I'm using a 1480 CP Registeel on my alt. Not having the best Regi in the world, it's kind of annoying, right? You don't live all the moves always, and it can be a little bit awkward, and it's definitely not as good as a high rank one, but it is possible to succeed with it, and I highly recommend giving it a go. Big thank you everybody for watching. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you've not yet done so. We're pushing 5k, man. Big thank you for everybody for all the support, everybody who's been gifting memberships, donating on the streams, subscribing, liking, commenting, everything that you guys do for the videos, really appreciate it. Big thank you, and hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Check out the video tomorrow. I'm going to be pushing Expert with a really interesting pick that I bet you've not seen for the whole cop. Thanks everybody, have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you all next time.